David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have for you a model from the brand Ensso, which completes their recent Ultem series, and that would be the Italia Ultem. What I am going to do today is go over the parts and features of this medium-sized pen, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to the good folks at Ensso for providing this pen for review. Over the years, I have reviewed quite a number of Ensso offerings. I'll share a number of them with you during the size comparisons, but what they have come up with for their latest model is an addition to their Ultem lineup. It arrives in this simple cardstock box. Inside, we have a plastic bag, which contains two things. It contains a standard international cartridge, and then we have the pen. This is the Ensso Italia Ultem. Ensso is a brand established back in 2014 by a designer by the name of Carlo Aiello, who is based out of the Los Angeles, California area. A design element which travels across most Ensso pens is a sleek, minimalist design. I'd say the Italia model is like the least minimalist of the Ensso offerings. As the name would imply, this pen is made from Ultem, which is an engineered plastic commonly used in like structural and aeronautical applications. It offers high strength, it's stronger than acrylic and other standard resins. It's chemical as well as temperature resistant. It has this distinct amber color, and it also is a bit frosted. I really like the frosted matte look the material has. Okay, let's take a look at the parts and features of this pen. The top of the cap comes to a bit of a point. Now, here you can see the difference in look between the Ultem when it is solid as opposed to when it is bored out. The finial is much more solid and it has a darker, more orangish amber hue as opposed to the more yellowish amber of the more hollow cap. Next we have the clip. It's metal and flared. While it is a bit on the firm side, the flare helps it accommodate materials of varying thicknesses. Now, below that darker amber finial, there is a thin black line. It's something on the inside of the cap. I'm thinking maybe an O-ring for the clip, but it's a little annoying because it can be seen clearly on one side of the cap, but it tapers down, and on the other side of the cap, it's not present. You can see here in this picture from the company, the line is present on either side of the clip, where on the one in my possession, it's just present on one half. It's something small, but still something that I wanted to point out. I do like how the Ultem is translucent enough to get a blurry look at the nib while it's capped. Now, this is something that I noticed that I appreciated. I'm not sure who else would notice this, but there is a single cap thread, so the nib will always be oriented in the same position, whether that is face up or face down, which in the case of this picture is facing away from the clip, which in my mind is a good thing. In my opinion, if you can see the nib through the cap, then it should orient either facing away from the clip or facing the clip. What's interesting is with this pen, while the cap has that single thread, the section actually has dual threads in its connection to the barrel. So if you would prefer your nib to be facing up rather than down, you could easily make that adjustment. I was a bit befuddled for a minute when I saw a picture I had taken of it in one orientation, and then the pen in my hand had it in a different orientation. It just took me a bit to determine that it was the cap threads, or it wasn't the cap threads, but it was the section threads, which determined that orientation. The cap angles up at an even rate of incline until you get to the end of the cap, where you have an engraved Greek key design nestled between two grooves. I find the engraving on this pen to be nice and clean. There is a medium-sized step down from the cap to the barrel. The barrel then tapers down at an even rate of decline, which is slightly greater than the incline of the cap. And then at the end of the barrel, there is another engraved groove, and the very end comes to a point, slightly smaller than the one on the top of the cap. The cap twists off with just over a single rotation, and underneath we have a number 6 stainless steel nib. It's engraved with the name of the company and USA. The nib is available in either fine or broad. I feel like going with the black nib and trim was a good choice for this pen. I think it matches really nicely with the amber of the Ultem, as opposed to if the hardware were silver or even a gold color. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section begins with another engraved Greek key design. I think that design really looks sharp, and it serves as a bit of a tactile speed bump to prevent your grip from slipping off the end of the section. The section angles up slightly until you reach the cap threads and the remainder of the barrel. I don't find the section to be slick at all. Actually, if you look closely in this picture, you can see some minute tooling marks, which serve to help increase the surface grip as well. You really don't feel those grooves at all, but they aptly serve a necessary service. I find the Italia to be very comfortable in the hand. I find Ultem to be a fairly warm material. The cap is very light. It pokes deeply and securely, and I don't find that it backweights the pen or throws off the balance at all. So if you enjoy posting your pens, then this one will work well for you. Most importantly, though, in my opinion, even though the edge of the cap rubs against the inside of my hand, I don't find that edge to be sharp, which is a good thing. A sharp edge rubbing against my hand is one of my pen pet peeves. This is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges, and a converter is provided. Here on the section housing, there is an O-ring, and then below that, you can see again, it has the company name. I kind of like how the company name is found on a hidden place on this, as well as most other Ensso pens. That O-ring comes in handy if you should care to eyedropper this pen. With the solid barrel construction and lack of metal parts with the appropriate amount of silicone grease, this would work very well as an eyedropper. And seeing the ink sloshing around in the barrel would look nice. The Ensso Italia Ultem is available on the Ensso website and retails for $115, which I feel is a reasonable price. And it's my understanding that if you are a first-time customer to their site, there's a 20% discount you can take advantage of, which brings the price down to $92, which is an even more reasonable price for what you receive with this pen. Overall, it's well built, it has some sharp looks, and as you will see in the writing sample, it performs very nicely. So now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and that writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Ensso Italia Ultem. In regard to some other Ensso models, this is what it looks like with the Minimalista, and then this was the pocket pen, I believe. Now it's like my quiz to remember if I can remember all of the names. This was the Puma, the pocket Puma, and this is the standard size Puma in Jonathan Brooks PM4. And then here is the Italia again, and this is in the Jonathan Brooks PM4. And then in regard to some other Ultem pens, here it is with a shown design Pocket 6 in Ultem. This was another shown design. This was the boy, I'm spacing on the name on that one, but this one was neat because it would fit a, you could fit it with a large Bach number 8 nib, which I thought was amazing for a medium-sized pen. I'm spacing on the name on that one. Maybe it's just the Ultem. And then this one is one more Ultem pen, which is from Kasama, and this is the Una. And then in regard to some non-Ultem pens, this is what it looks like with a Pilot Vanishing Point. And here it is with a Lamy All-Star. In regard to uncapped comparisons, this is what it looks like with the Kasama. And then here it is with the Ensso Puma. And then here it is with the Lamy All-Star. So here we go with the Ensso. And this is the Italia Ultem. And this is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink I'm using is from Fountain Pen Revolution. And it is their Royal Flush Blue. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice vibrant blue with a decent amount of shading to it. It's fairly similar to something like Robert Oster's Admiral Blue. And then here it is with Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. And these are what the 30 milliliter bottles look like. Fountain Pen Revolution has a nice series of ink, and this is one of my favorites of theirs. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. You know what? Actually, something I wanted to point out is with this design here on the end of the section, when you are inking a pen up, sometimes if there's a design here or threads, then ink has a chance to kind of get caught in those. For this pen, I didn't find that was the case. While ink kind of got in there, when I wiped it off with a tissue, it just came right off. So there was no issue with ink getting caught in there at all, which was nice to see. But in regard to the writing sample, I do find this nib to be a bit on the stiffer side, and it has a bit more feedback. It's a little more feedback heavy. I wouldn't say that it's not smooth, but it's just not necessarily, it's not necessarily super smooth, but the feedback is still nice on it. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of here. And for a medium nib, I think the ink flow is decent on here. In regard to some reverse writing, it is a little sharp, but it gets the job done. And then in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up just fine. So there we have the Ensso Italia Ultem. Ensso has come out with some really interesting models over the years, and I think this is a nice addition to that family, and they've always been reasonably priced as well. Thanks again go out to the good folks at Ensso for providing this pen for review. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.